Business is not always just about accumulation as much as it is about using what you're able to do to impact others for a greater good.
Absolutely. Welcome to Courageous Stewards, the podcast where legacy meets leadership.
We believe stewardship isn't just about managing resources. It's about multiplying impact, honoring purpose, and building with eternity in mind. Each week, we dive into business-focused discussions on real estate investing on a foundation of faith and family.
We have a desire to inspire listeners with a heart to reclaim their time, talents, and treasures for something greater. Whether you're growing your portfolio, leading a business, or a family, we need to become the best version of ourselves.
This is your space to gain wisdom, walk in courage, and steward what matters most.
Let's build what lasts. Let's lead with love.
Let's become Courageous Stewards.
All right, so welcome back to Courageous Stewards. We're back here for episode 6. We're just going to start out and talk about our week this week because Jake and I both had quite a week. Jake, why don't you tell us a little bit about how your week went?
I can't complain. Wouldn't do any good anyway. But I will tell everybody that it has been a bit of a challenge a few times with some different things. My wife has a company that she runs outside of here that primarily does drone videography and photography. She crashed one of our drones. Accidents happen. You can't be in this business and expect that you're never going to have an issue like this. Unfortunately, drones are not cheap.
Yeah.
And, you just kind of roll with the punches and try to keep perspective. And we're going to have it looked at, see if it can be fixed. And if not, then we'll end up buying another one. But it is a very expensive piece of equipment. I think those run probably in the neighborhood of $3,000 to $4,000. Wow.
So you guys had a good one.
We have several of them, yes. So she has a backup, and that's great that we can continue. It's not the end of the world. Everything is figure outable. Yep. and we're just going to move on. It's what we do. I heard also that you had a bit of an issue. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I love real estate. We had a backup or two at a duplex. I had been struggling with this before and had snaked this main sewer out a few times, and it's worked. But they were so close together, and I was always wondering, I'm like, what's going on? But I would snake it out because it was a less expensive option. Sometimes that's not always the best choice. So recently, just Monday, this week actually, we had to have an excavating service come out. So it was old clay under there for the sewer, and the 45 had collapsed basically.
Oh no.
So it was all backed up under there. So we had to trench out the whole main sewer from the duplex to the road and replace that. So what started out as a $200 snake situation turned into a $3,000 excavating bill with some new main sewer lines. So that was fun, but it's fixed now. And I told the guy that was coming over to do the work, they did a great job, that if he fixed it and he took care of this problem, we'd be good. Because this unit's a pretty good duplex at this point, but that has been an ongoing issue. It would seem like it wasn't bad unless a certain storm happened. So if somebody's doing laundry and somebody's using the bathroom and running a shower, that's when you'd have the issue. So it was interesting. But that was a magic trick in real estate, man. You get to turn $200 into $3,000 bill like that. So it was fun.
You need it to be opposite of that. You need it to be where you turn $200 worth of income into $3,000 worth of income, not the opposite of that where
that would be a better
outgoing expense.
That would be a much better trick.
And actually, that makes me think about capital expenses. Unforeseen capital expenses, and how really as a landlord you should have a capital expense account that you're pouring into 100%. Every single month, because if you don't, these situations are going to arise, and when they do and you're not prepared for it, then you panic.
100%.
If you have a capital expense account and you can pull directly from that, it's not such a big deal. It's just par for the course. We know things are going to break. They're going to fall apart. We're going to need a new roof at some point. We're going to need a new water heater. We're going to break a window. We're going to collapse a sewer. Things like that happen in any home or investment property. And if you're prepared for it from years of pouring into a capital expense account, then it becomes an easy thing.
Yep, agreed.
So
it's a great
something
tip
to consider.
We're going to dive into generational reckoning. Now, what is that about? We're talking about basically calling out to the generation right now that's pursuing wealth and things and success to find how the world sees it, and focusing less on the desire to have those worldly possessions and the success and the money over impact. So we want to focus and call out to challenge people to focus on the impact they're making with the people and their lives, their communities, and allow that to be a part of the process, but making sure a focus on impact over income.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jake?
I agree. I think it just is recognition that accumulation is not near as vital and important as impact is. If we're pursuing impact, accumulation will happen naturally to a certain point. And then we recognize that it's just more about us using that accumulation to make a bigger impact. It seems like older generations, maybe the baby boomer generation and prior, accumulation was far more important. And impact has become more important maybe with Gen Z and some of the newer generations where we're beginning to recognize that our influence matters. Now we have internet and social media and YouTube and all the things that give us a voice and help us to create more impact. And really, if we use our God-given talents, such as business, investing, we all have skills. Maybe mine are different than yours, but I'm able to use mine to earn significantly more money for a company and then use that not just to accumulate more, but to impact somebody or something, a nonprofit organization, maybe a passion project that is near and dear to our heart. So recognizing that business is not always just about accumulation, as much as it is about using what you're able to do to impact others for a greater good.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Oftentimes you'll start out with something and you'll ask, what am I looking to get? What am I looking to gain out of this? The more important question on this particular topic is why. Ask less about what it is you're going after and more about why are you going after it. If you're postured in a really good why that's based on positive impact for those around you, the things you wanted or we're going to put on that what list in regards to money and influence and people will come naturally because it will be drawn to you because your why is so much more powerful than the what.
I agree. If you think about it, in the past, it seems like businesses or corporations would look at only how they could get the biggest return, how they could get fast growth as fast as possible. We want the biggest returns, fastest growth, and highest profit margin. That was their focus. We need to kind of shift our perspective into how is what I'm doing impacting others the most.
Yep. Love that.
Everything that I'm doing to grow this organization is for a greater good. It has a purpose behind it. And if all we're looking at is our profit margins, our greatest return, how fast we can grow a company, what's the cost? At what cost are we focused on just growth and profits of a company? Because you kind of get lost in the weeds. Your focus is so driven by success that you forget the purpose.
Right. You start chasing those reports and those metrics that are based on profitability, income, and it's good. As a business, you want to be successful, but like you were saying a minute ago, at what cost? If you're so focused on timelines and you're crunching your team constantly and you're pulling your people in and giving them these super tight timelines and these projects that overwhelms them, they can't take vacations, they can't see their family, and then you wonder why they're underperforming. It's about the people. You've got to be able to balance pursuing productivity, profitability, and success, but making sure that you value the people that are helping you create it, because I still stand on it not being necessarily a productivity problem. It's a people problem, and you aren't pouring into your people, you're pouring into your productivity.
Yeah.
So you continue to tighten the timelines, tell people to stay at work longer, you put more on their plate. Everybody's getting stretched thin. You're just seeing that a lot in companies today anyways. But there needs to be a slowdown and pour into some people. That's where the impact comes in, is how can I help you not only professionally but personally be developed? And then you'll start to see your people step up, they'll feel better, and then they'll start to perform better.
You want a team that's going to be able to see and get behind the vision that you set. And if your vision is just growth and more money or property or product development or whatever the case is, if that's your only focus, you're going to have a very hard time getting team members to buy into it.
Yeah.
And really, you want a group of team members and an environment where they recognize the purpose and reason for doing what it is that you're doing. I'm not saying that your only focus should be related to giving to organizations. Our heart is to grow companies, to build a bigger business, to accumulate property, but there needs to be a why behind that. And we need to make sure that we're not getting it out of balance and only focusing on how do I get the next deal rather than focusing on what's the reason that I'm growing this company and building the team that sees this vision and can pursue it is vital.
Yeah, I totally agree. And even today, feeling a little under the weather this morning, but getting in here today and being on the episode this morning, it's the why. I know why we're doing this right here is to help others, to impact somebody, to create some sort of influence where somebody goes, hey, I'm going to try that. I see value in what they just shared with me. So it was hard to not make it in and to get in here and record today because this is why we're doing it. The why is bigger than my personal feelings. That translates.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's something that I look forward to now. When we started this podcast, I got to be honest, I was not comfortable.
Oh, yeah. Awkward.
I was scared to death.
It was weird.
It was awkward. We're having conversations that maybe we've had before.
Yeah.
And we have to rehash them
Yeah.
again and again for our audience. And there are a lot of nuggets that you take out of this that you're like, oh, we didn't see it that way the last time we talked about it. Yeah, that's clear now. I get it. That's good information. I can apply that. But when we're just sitting down to talk in front of cameras and microphones, it just changes the dynamic a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's something you have to get used to. Now I look forward to it.
Yeah,
we get to do this.
It's been a lot more fun lately. So it's exciting to know that's going to continue. Let's jump into talking about inheritance versus purpose.
Okay.
If you were going to talk about the differences between the two or the importance of the two, where would you start?
Inheritance for me is just paper handed down to the next generation. It's an accumulation of wealth that you can't take with you. You didn't come in with it. You're not going out with it.
Right.
So inheritance is just an accumulation of finances that you can pass on to a person.
Right. So we're talking about when you're passing, when you're done on this earth and you've accumulated stuff and you're going to hand it down when you pass away, that inheritance goes to your next generation, your children.
Yeah.
And so those are things, material possessions, money, like you were saying, paper almost. You're giving those things to that next generation.
They have no legacy value. That's the difference between inheritance and purpose, is that purpose creates a legacy. And a legacy carries on through the generations. It's something that you pass on to your family, not in a sense of money, but in a sense of ownership. And if you bring your family along for the ride and show them the value in what it is that you're creating and pouring into, they buy into that legacy and they want to carry it on through the generations. And by doing that, they pass it on to their kids and their kids and their kids. And before you know it, our great-great-great-grandkids are executing excellently on the things that we were trying to put in place when we were on earth. And it just continues to flow and get better and bigger, which is so much more exciting than leaving my kids $1 million.
Yeah, well said.
I've heard this several times from some really hyper wealthy individuals that they have no intention of leaving their wealth to their kids. They plan to give the accumulation of wealth to organizations, nonprofits that they believe in, and they want their kids to be involved in those organizations or start organizations of their own that can build something greater than just the finances sitting in a big pool.
Yep, you're right on. I love that. So it's like inheritance is that simple handoff of stuff and things. But the more important part is what they do with it. I can give you stuff. Let's say you got a lower income job, you're struggling to pay bills, things like that, and I'm just going to give you $1 million to help you out. How far is that going to go? It depends on that person knowing what they know, how they've been influenced, the relationships they've had in their life, what they'll do with that. We both have ideas and opinions on what we would do with $1 million and where we would put it and how we'd use it. But somebody who hasn't been influenced in that way won't know. So for me, inheritance is you're going to give you that $1 million. But purpose comes down to relationship. My boys, for example, in my inheritance, I would love to see them step into the business. But more importantly than that and growing it is knowing why we have it in the first place. I need them to know relationally through examples of what I'm setting for them, why I have it, why we're running it, where it's going, what it's for, and have a relationship with them in it. So when it is passed on to them, they steward it well because we don't want that, well, they don't know what to do with it, right? I can spend time working on the business, growing the business, not paying attention to my kids, not having a relationship with them, sharing it with them and showing them what I'm doing and give them the business. Where do you think it's going to go? Who do you think it's going to impact? I don't know. If they're neglected, if they're not being brought up in the ways that we are trying to model our lives and our examples on, it could be run into the ground very quickly. You've got to take care of what's entrusted to you, and that's what I'm hoping to set the boys. So the inheritance is great, but more importantly, what you do with the inheritance.
That's the vision of the company as we set it for Courageous Stewards, is that we help to create purpose and a vision for the generations to come in our own families. We bring our kids alongside us and show them the difference between inheritance and purpose, and want them to really grasp on to the legacy potential that this vision has and how we can grow it and invest it in other people and other organizations and really make a huge impact that we otherwise could not have made with a small amount of money.
Yeah.
A lot of folks really see those dollar signs, specifically larger dollar signs for most people. $1 million is still a lot of money to most people. And the perspective that other people seem to have, and even us in our previous businesses, may have looked at that amount of money and gone, that's life-changing. I won't ever have to work again.
Yeah.
A lot of people have that mindset.
Oh, yeah.
I won't ever have to work again. But working is a privilege. It's really about having the vision for the legacy and driving towards that. The money is secondary.
Yeah, I value fulfillment over income every day of the week.
Yeah.
I'm making less now than I was at my job, but the joy and the fulfillment I have each day driving into what I'm doing, it dwarfs that.
Impact is everything.
Yeah, I know what I'm doing now is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, I agree. That reminds me of a quote by Chip Gaines. If y'all don't know, Chip and Joanna Gaines had the show Fixer Upper. They have a company, Magnolia, and they've taken that and grown it into stores, and they're in Target and all kinds of stuff. He was interviewed on a podcast maybe a year or two ago, and I listened to that podcast, and the thing that I took away from that was so impactful, and it resonates with me even still today. I think about it all the time. He said, money is just a tool for impact. That's all it is. They are worth millions and millions and millions of dollars, and his perspective has never changed. He always sees it as money is just a tool for impact.
Yeah.
I'm going to go. I can't stay here forever, and I can't take it with me, but I can impact people, and I can impact the generations to come. That's power, and that's importance.
It's huge.
So when it comes to impact, we really have 4 different categories that we can hone in on. They would be generational, social, environmental, and financial. And to put a little context to those 4, generational would be family. How can we impact our family in a positive way to create legacy? Social would be our community. What are we doing within the community to have a greater impact? That's more local, I would say. Environmental, we would be talking more about city, state, and country. What are we doing to impact the area in a more broad perspective? And then financial would be business. What are we doing to grow our business, to steward what we've been entrusted with? We need to make sure that we are focusing on all 4 of those areas, maybe not equally, because we're naturally going to view something as more important than another, but we need to make sure we're keeping it all in balance. Impact is vital in all 4 of these areas, in your family, your community, your country and state, and your business and portfolio. Yeah. Without that one, the others will struggle naturally. So I do have a question that I think will bring us full circle on that, and that is, obviously we want impact, but we also need returns. So what is the formula to achieve both and feel good about it?
I had been thinking about this a little bit, the formula for achieving both, because you want profitability and you want impact. For me, there's an order to it, and it needs to involve purpose, people, and profits. Now, I say those 3 things in that order, and I know I'm doing that right because I'm still broke. I'm still broke in my business as we're starting out here, and we keep scaling, but yeah, purpose, people, and profits. I feel that. I try to model that. And my bank account reflects it very well. So we're hoping one day all of it comes up together.
And you say that jokingly because where cash flow may be slow, profitability is still there, equity is growing, debt pay down is happening.
And we buy, so it's always going to zero, right? It's like get the next asset, go to zero.
Right.
So we do have a capital reserve like you mentioned earlier. So we always try to keep that at a certain balance based on how many doors we have for those reasons. But yeah, and then we're designing solutions for real problems people have. So that, in a sense, has impact, and we're trying to help people. You find an issue, and you find a solution, and you provide that solution. It doesn't have to be real estate, when you're looking for that. Find out what your gifts are and your strengths are, and then utilize those to help others. and recognize you got to have the world as it is, not as you would have it. That was an interesting thing because I'd love my tenants to be able to financially afford a home. And I know that's tough in this market, the way home prices are, but I would love that. I think you should own a home. That's an opinion. And maybe not everyone agrees, but people should own their home and not necessarily be renting. But I think there's a time and place for all things. And then I don't always feel like people should rent garages, so the self-storage thing makes sense. But because the world needs storage, needs places to put things, they'll rent them.
Isn't it funny how people will put $300 worth of junk and fill their garage completely and park a $50,000 or $80,000 car or multiple vehicles outside?
In the driveway, yeah.
In the driveway.
So I can't make sense of everything people do, and we shouldn't spend our time trying to do that, but it's seeing the opportunity to help and providing a solution that people want to pay for and use.
Right.
Just having that formula around profitability, purpose, and impact, I feel more successful when I'm helping somebody else become more successful, whatever that looks like, in personal life or professional life or fathering. You've talked about it. We both have that same heart. So that formula is just a combination of purpose, people, and then profits in that order.
I would probably try to wrap this up by saying that it is really more about servant leadership. If you can figure out a way to serve in an area that has a need, in a lot of cases, leading from a place of servanthood is the best impact that you can have. And you're going to be a servant to your people. You're going to be a servant in some capacity to your tenants, to the buyers that you have for the products that you offer, to your children, to your spouse. There's really not an area in your life where you're not going to be a servant. You answer to somebody, and if you don't answer to somebody, you answer to God.
Yeah.
I would say finding the perfect formula for a balance between returns and impact is serve in an area that provides value, and the returns will be a byproduct of that servanthood.
Agreed.
Okay, second question. How does a good leader show that they value impact over just mere profit?
So the thing that bothers me in that question is the word show. I think show sounds like you're trying to portray, pretend, or put on that you value impact over profit. So I think the change there and how a good leader can show that is not necessarily by showing it, but by living it. That has to translate to all that we do, not even just business and profits. Living for impact in all things. Because you'll find yourself creating more impact, sometimes for nothing. You know how that is. When you're sitting down and pouring into somebody that's just helping out at church or wants some financial coaching, and you're just doing it to help out because you like those things, and your heart's rooted in creating that impact for free, there is no benefit. If that translates into all you do in your business, then you're living it. When you live it, you'll show it, people will see it. And when you're showing it and living it, you'll find that the success comes after.
It really is a lifestyle, not a show.
Correct.
I couldn't agree more. So to wrap this all up, give me a couple of practical steps that we can use and apply to our businesses, our families, and our daily lives that help to produce impact rather than just inheritance or accumulation.
Starting with core values. I think it's important that we know what we stand for, we know what we're about, and we start there. And then we work with people that have those shared values. And we come alongside them in companies, partnerships, family, all those things, and setting that example. Productivity starts with the people. We've talked about that before. Just being able to be taking time to pour into your people, and I think that translates directly to business and family also. Your children, pouring into them and setting that example.
Yeah, value your people.
Yeah, value your people for sure. And then just making sure you're modeling generosity. You're giving first, you're serving first, and God will provide the rest, the things that we want in the world, And then celebrating stories, not just metrics or things that we quantify on what we think success looks like. But when you have a moment with somebody that you've impacted, man, value that story because that's important. And teaching stewardship early. That's both to your team, your employees, setting that culture inside your company. If you are a faith-based company, share it. And then certainly in your kids and in your families, making sure that the expectations in your household are set that this is what we do. Because I think it's important to start habits at a younger age because it's harder to start habits at an older age because you're already kind of rooted in what you do and don't do. It's a lot easier to start young, have that relationship early on so that the habits are already there.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. So how can we bring this home? We've really hit a lot of good notes on what the difference is between accumulation and impact and how we should be more purpose-focused rather than inheritance-focused. These are all really valuable tips, but I want to leave everybody with a fun tip. Let's just give the audience something that they may not have known prior to us telling them this. Do you have something off the top of your head that you can think of?
So for me, I mean, I'm 40, so I'm sure a lot of people already know this particular tip, but I think time text messages. That has been such an awesome tool. Why time text messages? So for me, when I was building the business, I was up at 4:30 in the morning. I was going to the gym. I was reading. I wasn't ready to send out emails. I'm ready to send out texts. I've got thoughts. I'm working on something and I need a client to know this certain thing. And once my day starts and I'm rolling, I forget. So time text messages allows me to send somebody a text at 4:30 in the morning that they won't actually get till 9 or 10 a.m. when they're up and their day started. And so it's just going into your text messages, at least on Android anyways, and you just type your message and you hold the send button down just for an extra second or two, and it lets you set up when you actually want to send that text message. That was really valuable through a lot of those early mornings because I get a lot done before everybody's awake, and being able to communicate while I'm driving around and not have to even think about it after I've sent that time text was incredibly valuable.
That's something that I had absolutely no idea about until I met you. And in fact, my wife is far and away more tech savvy than I am. She had no idea until I told her because you had told me.
Yep.
So I know it
so
has some
funny.
value and it works.
Yeah.
It is incredibly helpful to have a thought, put it down, put a timed message on there for 2, 3, 4 hours, or even the next day.
Days. I've just sent one the other day to our cleaning partner for our Airbnb. I had a booking and I'm like, well, I'm just going to send a reminder text for that checkout day. And I did. I set it for then. I set it early in the morning. I was driving around all week working, and then boom, that day came and then she got it. Didn't know about it, but I'm old, so I found out about it, and I was like, I use this. I knew they had it for emails. You could schedule an email.
Sure.
So I don't know why they wouldn't have that on texting.
No, that's a fun little tip. And maybe we'll continue on with those and see if people resonate with some of those little helpful tips. We can do that for everything from helpful tips in our own personal lives to family to business, how we invest, things that you should look for in contracts, all kinds of opportunities to learn little nuggets. And so we'll try to do that going forward and see how that resonates with everybody. Remember to consider that it's not about accumulation, it's more about impact, and purpose in your legacy is far more important than just an inheritance. We hope you go back and listen to some of our other episodes. We're encouraged that we already have the audience that we do, and we hope that it continues to grow. We would be so blessed by all of you giving us a review, watching our content, subscribing where you watch it, whether it be on YouTube or listening to it on one of the major platforms. We're on all of them. Go find us, listen to our content. We're thrilled that we get to be a part of your lives, and we hope that we can add value. Thanks for joining us today on Courageous Stewards, where legacy meets leadership and faith fuels the journey.
If this episode stirred something in you, share it with someone who's ready to step boldly into their calling. Subscribe, leave a review, and stay connected as we continue to explore what it means to lead with conviction, serve with excellence, and build with eternity in mind.
So until next time, keep showing up, keep stewarding well, and remember, courage isn't the absence of fear, it's obedience in motion.